A recent article in Canadian Affairs has shed light on Ontario's 2024 budget and how it has prioritized investment in housing infrastructure as a key strategy to address Ontario's housing shortage. However, there are concerns about these efforts. While the budget incentivizes municipalities to meet housing targets, it lags behind initiatives in other provinces like British Columbia. Challenges with affordability and homelessness linger, despite attempts to regulate things like vacant homes. This has sparked worries that delaying affordable housing initiatives could lead to severe economic consequences. Joining us now to dive deeper into the issue is the author of that article, Hadassah Alencar from Canadian Affairs. Thank you very much for joining us again on Forum Daily.
Great to be here again.
So can you walk us through what Ontario's housing plan actually is, and how much the province is pledging to spend, and what are they actually spending their money on?
So Ontario's 2024 budget is really focused on building the infrastructure that will support building more housing in the future. So there's $1 billion going towards municipal infrastructure projects. They also quadrupled the funding to build more infrastructure for water to about $825 million. And this approach is really based on the province's continued work on what's called the Ontario's Plan to Build project. And that's a 10-year investment plan that'll add $190 billion towards infrastructure projects like highways, public transportation, and the municipal projects that I mentioned above. And Ontario's theory is that if the infrastructure around what could be housing exists, then that'll attract private companies to build the housing. And it'll make it easier to generate that housing supply. Businesses will then follow suit, join the community, and we'll have a community built.
Now, you note, though, despite that being obviously a considerable amount of money, housing advocates are calling it too little, too late. Can you elaborate on why they see Ontario's plan as not enough?
Well, housing advocates, they're really critical that Ontario's investments don't offer a short-term solution for affordable housing. So I spoke with Paul Kershaw, founder of Generation Squeeze. That's a nonprofit that advocates for intergenerational well-being. And he says people of all ages are being priced out of the market and that Ontario isn't doing enough to tackle the rising housing prices. Instead, the budget predicts that housing prices will continue to rise. And along with that, the province is moving slowly on adding new housing supply so far. So last year, Ontario added almost 110,000 new homes, but the province is really projected to need almost 1.5 million homes in 6 years. So that at this pace, it would take 15 years to build the amount of homes Ontario needs.
And BC is considered to be the province taking the housing crisis the most seriously. How does BC's approach differ from Ontario?
Well, Ontario and BC are very similar in that they are increasingly unaffordable places to live for people who are middle to lower income. But they're definitely different in their approach to housing. So British Columbia has about 1/3 of Ontario's population, but it's spending about the same amount to increase housing supply. And BC has also really cracked down on practices that contribute to the housing shortage. And that looks like new laws to control short-term rental housing, policies to prevent rent evictions. That's really where the big differences are. So Ontario is behind, but it is making some efforts to catch up. For example, in the 2024 budget, there's more regulations on vacant homes, and municipalities will be able to impose a tax on vacant homes and hopefully lower the amount in the province.
And I mean, obviously, this isn't an issue limited to Ontario. Nationally, how many homes does Canada need to build to properly address the housing crisis?
Well, in 2022, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, they estimated that Canada needs 3.52 million houses by 2030. And really, last year, we only saw that number decrease to 3.4 million. So we're really inching our way into providing more housing nationwide.
Thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today. Really appreciate it, and we'll be sure to be following up with you as the debate over housing progresses.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.